What we're experiencing right now is a society where the nature of work itself is transforming radically. Do you know how much money people online make today? Someone who gets 100,000 views at a $7 RPM, okay, is making $700 for that video. And that's for a video that's probably between like 10 to 20 minutes long. There are creators, especially within those financial niches, you know, these people promoting their little how to make money online, how to make money online, how to make money online, how to make money online. These people make $20 to $25 per 1,000 views, and they get hundreds of thousands of views or tens of thousands of views on their video, and they post one time a day, maybe a few times a week, and they make thousands of dollars per week. Some of these creators make tens of thousands of dollars per week, and they're sucking up entertainment. You want to know where your money is going in the working class? That's where it went. It went to entertainment. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I planned on filming a video that was reacting to Jordan Peterson and Oliver Anthony finishing this interview. We got a little off course at certain points. It turned into a rant in some areas. You might enjoy it, you might not, but I promise we are going to ultimately finish this interview in a part 3. I hope you enjoy it.
What do you think it was that tempted you to feel hopeless about the future, and how have you dealt with that to the degree that you have, and how have you dealt with that successfully?
The hopelessness, I think, comes from seeing us all like we find fault in each other instead of finding common ground in each other anymore. Like to your point about Chris, and like with, you know, and that's one of the verses in the popular song is that it references young men committing suicide at this ridiculous rate they are today, because and I don't know why it is. I think it's almost been, again, through social media and sort of the parasitic way that it alters our thinking, like by just, we read everyday things that just change our perception of each other. But we've gotten to a point where it's easier for us to try to find differences and faults in each other instead of similarities, which we all hold much more common ground than we do difference. You know, I mean, we're all very biologically similar, and we all have to acquire some amount of money. Most of us have ambitions of raising a family, or at least developing friendships. Like, you know, I'd say 90% of the people that at least exist in North America are very similar in almost every way. But it's like we've somehow found the nitpick, arbitrary differences that we hold, and we exploit those and blow those up. And so, yeah, it feels hopeless because we are more divided today than we've ever been. Like, everything's politicized. Everything is about one party or one person trying to hold some moral high ground over the other, just for the sake of being able to point your finger down at them, you know?
I think this is what happens when you devise an algorithmic society to some degree. You're going to carve people up into different echo chambers, and then those niches will inform how people think, and the underlying layer of relatability underneath it all is completely lost. Class, race, gender, all groups have their own personal agendas/interests that they want to elevate in some way. And on its own, that's not a problem. The problem comes in when people are trying to elevate their own interests and agendas at the expense of other people. I don't think we've come to a full understanding that all people, regardless of circumstance, struggle and have issues that they want spoken to. That is very difficult for people to understand, and especially in the culture of victimhood that we've crafted. Both on the right and the left, there are people who are drawn toward the victimhood, almost as if they're imitating how they conceive of the other side. Like, well, they get away with it, so I can too. And that just sort of spirals its way downward. The victimhood is real. You have people on the left talking about all of these racial inequalities and gender, and if you're trans, and if you're this, and if you're that, my identity isn't being represented in society, etc., etc. And on the right, the big one that I see is the government did this, the government did that, the government did this, the government did that. It's great. I agree, we want less government, but there's no responsibility in just saying the government is doing all these terrible things. You are falling victim to the very same creature that you're condemning. Keep that in mind.
And it's like, what the hell are we doing? Like, we've got to, we have just an incredible opportunity to live in the place that we do. The fact that you and I can use free speech and free thought, because speech and thought are one and the same. Like if people aren't able to have open, honest conversations with each other, they aren't able to conceptualize new ideas that takes us into a better place than whatever place we were in previously. Like that's human existence 101. And so to see that being threatened and to see us all sort of being put into these categories and these political buckets, it's like even just our own, even the personalities of people have been weaponized against each other. You made a good point. It's been a couple years ago, maybe, where you were talking about, and I'd never looked at people this way prior, but you were talking about how just in people's own persona and their personality and the way they think, people can be more conservative or liberal. Like entrepreneurial, imaginative people are typically more liberal. And, like in a business, you've got the CEO is typically going to have a more conservative perspective, and the guy coming up with the new ideas, the entrepreneurial guy, he's going to be more liberal. And it's like, it seems like things have become very much like taking the imaginative, creative person and weaponizing him against the more traditionalist, grounded person. Instead of them using their strengths together to sort of build a brighter future, it's about taking each other and seeing how far we can take this thing. But ultimately, my hopelessness comes from like, what is this country or what is this world going to look like in 20 or 30 years? Like, what world are my kids going to live in? Are they going to be allowed to say what they think? Are they going to even be able to walk down the sidewalk? I mean, like, better than most about just the atrocities that went on 100 years ago.
Chris's articulation of visionary people being at odds with systematically organized people is spot on, because those two types of people are going to have massively different interests and lifestyles. As you can probably tell, I'm not someone who does very well inside systems. On the spectrum between a system thinker and a visionary creative thinker, I'm way far in the visionary creative direction, perhaps excessively so. And I think there's wisdom in not only recognizing that fault of your own, it can be useful, it can be eye-opening to put yourself in a situation where you are confined by a system. A lot of people were telling me after my Oliver Anthony reaction initially, go get a real job where you're doing real hard work, and then you'll know what it's like to be one of us. When I was addressing the working class, talking about not being part of the working class, I wasn't saying, oh, look at me, here I am. I'm in this great position and you're not. No, I'm not looking to blame people for their circumstances. I am looking to at least recognize someone's got to start the line of communication. To open up a little bit here, one of the things that I struggle with personally is that everything that I'm good at, mainly teaching and being a psychologist, are things that have been completely controlled by left-wing ideologues in the universities. So if I were to pursue a master's degree and a PhD within these schools, I would be supporting institutions that I believe are completely corrupted. I'm left with an option then. I can either put my money behind these institutions, just bite the bullet, pursue this degree, and then go out and do my own thing, or I can try to work outside the system. And I wouldn't necessarily say there's a right way and a wrong way. Some people are going to be limited by their financial means from pursuing certain paths. Some people don't even have the opportunity of thinking, oh, what am I good at? What do I like doing? They just have to do something because that's what puts the food on the table. Here's something you might find interesting. I went to Bangladesh earlier this year. Something you learn as an American going to a country like Bangladesh is that things don't operate over there like they do here. One of the common modes of transportation around the capital city of Dhaka is through a rickshaw. A rickshaw is this cart-like vehicle that came over from Japan. The way you power it is people get in the cart and there are bicyclists and they bicycle people around. It's really hard work. It's in Bangladesh. This is 40 degrees Celsius weather. It's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. People are doing this day in, day out, 12 hours a day, and they make sometimes 10 to 12 bucks a day, the equivalent of that in US dollar. When you hear information like that, you look at a lot of problems that other Americans are complaining about, and you're like, man, you don't even have any idea of what's going on globally. I would say that's a harder struggle than my own struggles. But listen, we do all have struggles here. Even the people that are going to be deemed the winners of the 21st century are still struggling in some way. If we can't have these candid conversations back and forth that really bridge the class divides, we're not going to make progress on this front.
You said And you notice you have to do the same thing with your wife. It's exactly the same damn thing, is that once you develop a vision for yourself, let's say in your imagination, that's what calls for you, to you. It's based on what you really want. You have to develop that vision. Then you have to say to her, look, here's what I see 5 years down the road. And is there a manner in which what you see and what you envision, and that was, say, your wife's concern for for animals and so on, the joint interest you had in that, is there some way that you have a vision of 5 years down the road that we could bring together, that we would both be thrilled to play out, that we could commit to, right? And so that visionary practice has to extend within the marriage, and then you get to play house, and then you get to play, and that's a hell of a lot better than beating each other up and, you know, using force and compulsion. Well, those are the options, right? As far as I can tell, it's slavery, tyranny, or negotiation. And if you negotiate in a visionary way, then you get to play. And if you get to play, well, then you're not in that hell on earth that you described, right? You're as close to the opposite as you can get. So you obviously managed that successfully. And so, well, I presume, and
Yeah.
what does your wife think about the way this vision is unfolding?
Yeah, well, it's in the present moment, she's very excited. Like, neither one of us had any idea that any of this would happen the way it did with the music. But as far as we're excited. We're excited to. It's the last few weeks have been so difficult to interpret anything, because she's pregnant now with what'll be my first son. I've got 2 daughters, and so this will be my first boy. So like the last couple of weeks have been spent more about trying to figure out what we're going to name the little rascal than anything else. But yeah, like our vision, I think, for the next 20 or 30 years is very similar in what we want to do. It's, we want to make sure that our children are brought up in a way that they get to experience nature and get to sort of have some of the imaginative and like you said, even just some of the playful nature that children have. We want to do what we can to try to protect them from being so institutionalized at an early age into sort of the system that you describe and the way modern education works. And we want them to be able to pursue whatever, like we're very excited about the opportunities with our children and with our family. And we have this vision of, I don't know exactly how it'll work out. There's a model very similar that Robert Kennedy Jr. describes called a healing center. But I think we want to incorporate animals into it as well, to where we want to use our property. Maybe we even try to purchase another piece of property just through this nonprofit. But I have this vision of sort of creating a model that can be replicated that involves regenerative agriculture, people that are suffering with PTSD and mental and people that are just getting out of rehab. And there is studies that show that hard work in general helps anxiety and depression, but then being out in nature doing it, like I think there's a place over in Italy that does this, that takes kids that have depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts and all, and sort of works them on this vineyard for a period of time, and it's got a very high success rate. And so yeah, we have a vision of trying to take whatever has been produced from this, and we want to sort of light a fire maybe that will hopefully light other fires, and this can become something a lot bigger than just what she and I want to do, with our world. But yeah, it's about trying to sort of, we both are very like-minded in that, and sort of that bigger vision. And it did take some time. Like it's difficult. It's very difficult for anyone in today's society, including me. I mean, I'm just like anybody else, but it's hard to, sometimes it's hard to, how would I say it? It's hard to take away the immediate gratification of whatever world you're living in now and those comforts, and being able to somehow put those to the side for something that doesn't even exist. Like it's a terrifying thing to make that leap. But I'd say at this point,
this guy has a cool vision. Getting people outside, working in nature, helping people who are suffering from PTSD and alcoholism. Quite similar to part of what I want to accomplish as well. Just before sitting down to react to this video, I was envisioning my own type of healing center. There's going to be a balance between building centers for healing that optimize for the environment and building centers for healing that optimize for occupancy. The current hospital system that we have right now optimizes for occupancy. I would say we have more of a sick care system overall than we do a healthcare system. Chris would probably agree with me on that front. You know, it's what got me in trouble in the first place, but I have to point it out. He's talking about PTSD. He's talking about reconnecting people with nature. It's absurd how closely those issues align with the treatment of psilocybin and psychedelic therapy. So much of what people are excited about in the psychedelic research space is the potential for these treatments to be used for precisely PTSD, alcoholism, and reconnecting people with nature. These are some of the key things going on right now. Something I noticed from my initial video reacting to his song is that I think we both care about the same things. We just have a massively different vision as to how we're going to go about alleviating some of these issues. And I think what he's talking about is going to appeal more to certain people, and what I'm talking about is going to appeal and be more accessible to other people. We're going to have to negotiate this. It's really a shame that my discussion regarding how psychedelics can help with a lot of these issues was received with a response, you just want to drug people. You want to give people a bunch of LSD. Don't you know what happened in the 60s? That didn't work. LSD ruins people's lives. But it illustrates the problem that we're facing perfectly. We're both talking about the exact same issues. I think getting people out in nature and working is a great idea. That'll help a lot of people. Now, the process of motivating them to want to go out into nature and start working, that's a different story. And that's where I think psychedelics are going to be relevant. A lot of the people who watch my videos are much older. That might surprise certain people, that might not surprise others. But I'm part of Generation Z. And based on what I've seen, the audience that I'm addressing are people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. When I talk about specific solutions, I am bringing up those solutions in reference to some of the problems that are going on with my generation right now, and thus problems that are going to be going on with future generations. And one of the huge things that is taking place is technological addiction. How do we get people not just off of technology? How do we get them to want to be off of technology? My generation is hurting here, and I don't have a lot of connection with Gen Z, to be honest. There's a reason why I'm talking to people who are older than me, because I don't find a lot of relatability with those in my generation. But I at least have enough connection to see that people are suffering. Everyone thinks this is an issue. Everyone thinks that we need to be getting people off of screens and into the natural environment. But there are no economic incentives that are designed to achieve this. If we let our society continue down this path without drastic intervention, people are going to fall victim to technological addiction more and more. Do people see the trajectory here? It's not just about we need to encourage people to do this. That's not enough. Human minds are competing against algorithmic mechanisms. The human mind is not going to win that competition. We've seen what happens when you let these things play out for long enough. People get addicted. They get sucked in. The only way to get them not sucked in is a major rewiring of incentives throughout society. What does that mean? Capitalism needs to be completely remodeled. We don't need socialism, communism, all of the bullshit that Gen Z tends to come up with. We need a remodeling of capitalism. I'm speaking to a conservative audience right now, but this is an idea that isn't just meant for conservative ears. This is something that needs to be mainstream. The Overton window must be open on this front.
Well, there's no going back.
Well, look, it is a leap of faith, and you have to have, first of all, you have to have faith to do anything, because you can't do anything unless you have faith in it. And so maybe you have faith in your 9-to-5 routine and you think that's the best that there is. And that's faith too, because like you said, you might be run over by a bus tomorrow and who the hell knows what's going to happen. You're going to put your faith somewhere.
Yeah, your job might be completely taken away by the developments of technology over the next 1 to 2 decades. There are a lot of people I've talked to. Some people don't like their Uber jobs, but a lot of people actually do. They're like, you know what? Uber gave me an opportunity to drive around. I get to make some money. Talking to people is fun. And I'm grateful for that. And then they talk about like, oh, I can see myself doing this for 15 years. Folks, your job very likely is not going to be there in 15 years. And a lot of people think, oh, we're just going to replace the old jobs with new jobs. It's like, yeah, we might replace some old jobs with new jobs, but that doesn't say anything about the complexity of those jobs. What about people who were able, they had enough competence to perform the old jobs, but now you've upgraded the cognitive ability required in order to perform a certain job, and that completely boots people out of the market? What are those people going to do? Oh, universal basic income. We can't pay people for no reason. Yeah, I understand. What are people going to do? What are people going to do? Get a job. Yeah, what happens when the machines can do the jobs better than humans? Corporations aren't going to hire humans when they can hire machines for less money. Oh, you just have to stop the development of artificial intelligence. It's moving too fast. Yeah, you think that's going to happen? You think something as wise as that is going to take place from this government? Not a chance. And they're in bed with the pharmaceutical companies and the corporations. Everyone is in cahoots. Why is that taking place? Because the financial incentives are set up that way. And people are going to suffer. Your government is not going to solve this. And look, we can talk about problems all day. We love talking about problems. Oh, we have this problem. This is corrupt, and this is corrupt, and this is corrupt, and this is corrupt. It's corrupt. Yeah, it's great. It's all corrupt. But what the hell are we going to do about it? Yeah, you have presidential candidates come on and say, I'm going to cut 75% of the Fed and we're going to get people back to work in X, Y, and Z means. And I think, it's a great effort. To some extent, it's completely naive. What we're experiencing right now is a society where the nature of work itself is transforming radically. Do you know how much money people online make today? Someone who gets 100,000 views at a $7 RPM, okay, is making $700 for that video. And that's for a video that's probably between like 10 to 20 minutes long. There are creators, especially within those financial niches, these people promoting their little how to make money online, how to make money online, how to make money online, how to make money online. These people make $20 to $25 per 1,000 views, and they get hundreds of thousands of views or tens of thousands of views on their video, and they post one time a day, maybe a few times a week, and they make thousands of dollars per week. Some of these creators make tens of thousands of dollars per week, and they're sucking up entertainment. You want to know where your money's going in the working class? That's where it went. It went to entertainment, and it's progressively going to keep going to entertainment. Why? Because that's where the financial incentives are. And everyone's just promoting their little course. Oh yeah, here's how to make money online. Here's how to make money online. They sell their course, and they make money from the course, and they get views for the video, and the whole thing is a pyramid scheme. And then the only way to warn people about the pyramid scheme is to become a part of the pyramid scheme. It's ridiculous. It's so silly. I have an assignment for anyone watching this video. Okay, I want you to do something. Go around and ask, 2 people in your immediate proximity, what do you do? And what is that actually contributing to society? Get that person to be precise about what they're contributing. And I understand the argument, there have to be people who are fixing your pipes at 4 a.m, and construction workers and truck drivers who are transporting items across the country. Yeah, all of that work is stuff that is essential, and it's not being compensated enough in many ways. But there's a lot of jobs that are what is even going on here? What are we doing?
It was one of those days where you leave for work at 7 a.m. and you don't get back until past midnight. I left for work early for a 9 a.m. meeting that was conveniently canceled right beforehand. But luckily I got to the lobby and there were these eucalyptus towels waiting for me, which is really nice, and some fresh orange water, which I of course took before taking the elevator up to the office. And I grabbed a chai latte before heading to work, watched some of my coworkers play ping pong, and then tried out a new quiet room, which is a really nice area to just relax and unplug from work.
You're perfectly right to criticize me for coming on a YouTube channel and just talking about random stuff. What am I doing? The only thing that I can possibly be doing is if I get a large enough audience, not just to watch my videos. That's useless. Who fucking cares about that? That's just creating content for content's sake. No. We're gonna get to a point where we have an audience that's large enough, and then we're gonna do a couple things. Number one, we're gonna bring people together to spaces that are off of the internet. And then number two, we're gonna build the infrastructure that compensates psychedelic assisted therapy. And I'm gonna explain the idea. It's gonna take a lot of unpacking. It's gonna take me decades to emphasize why this idea is necessary. I'm probably going to be dead by the time the Overton window is open on this. But I just can't sit here and do nothing. Like, it's ridiculous.
So then the question is, where should you put your faith? And one answer to that is security or hypothetical security, but that seems to me to be a stupid answer because there is no security. So then if there's no security, then where do you put your faith? And then I would say, well, you put your faith in what beckons.
Sorry, didn't get to really contend with Oliver Anthony and Jordan Peterson, but the economic rant needs to be laid out here. Oh God, there's so much more to discuss on this. Here's another thing that bothers me. People talking about meritocracy, that people earn what they deserve or they earn what they work for. What a load of shit! What a load of shit! Do you understand that right now there are people that place trades within the financial market that last a matter of seconds or minutes, and just by pressing a couple of buttons in a certain way a few times a day, or even one time a week, they can make more money than you'll make in months or years. The reality is that some people make a shitload of money pressing some buttons, while other people are doing hard physical labor and barely making anything. You want to know something else? There are some people that don't even need to do that. They set up an algorithm, and that does the same thing and executes the trades for them. And they make the same kind of money, and they're just sitting around. It's like, okay, they were smart enough to do that. That's great that they were smart enough to do that. But that's not meritocracy. And it's just, oh God, it's unbelievable. Because the institutions that end up making these trades at the expense of retail traders are basically robbing ordinary people. I mean, you probably followed the whole GameStop thing and how the institutions tried to rig it. The stock was running up so quickly that they had to halt trading. And they shut down Robinhood, the platform, for placing trades. And that was rigged. They rigged it so that the little guy couldn't totally take over. And that's what happens. And these institutions, they just rake in the money. They short stuff to the bottom. They deke out retail traders. They'll push it into a supply zone in some direction or a demand zone in some direction, and then they'll just rip out the rug from under them. And meanwhile, all these retail traders are learning about like candlesticks and all this stuff, and they're totally fucked. And then people go online, the very few folks that are successful go online, they try to sell their course on how to trade stocks or how to trade crypto, and they make money from that. And yeah, no, that's gonna work for some people. Some people are gonna make money, but a lot of people aren't. And that's just another example of a fucking pyramid scheme. Zero-sum pyramid schemes just littered throughout the economy. Littered. And then you realize that conservatives, unfortunately, are too busy listening to the propaganda delivered by Sean Hannity on Fox News.
What is the, real quick, one sentence each, what do you recommend people do now? I'm saying save money wherever you can, and if you can bring in extra money, find a way. What do you say, Steve?
I say continue to work hard. If you don't have a job, better get one while they're out there. And I don't think I'd sell the stock market right now because the prices have fallen already so much.
David?
Wake up every day and be as productive as you can be because that's what God made you to be. Be productive, and it solves a lot of financial problems too.
It does. Maybe instead of working a 40-hour week, join the rest of us. Work 70, 80, 90 hours.
I should do more economic ranting on this channel, because some of this stuff is so ridiculous and it needs to be called out. It needs to be done in an entertaining way. That's the other thing. Here, let's rant some more. Unfortunately, you can't just make these points in a calm, logical fashion like an academic would, because it's boring and people don't read academics' papers. Nobody reads them. Nobody reads them. Yeah, because nobody has time to be not stimulated in this society. You need to be stimulated at all times. And it might sound like I'm being bitter right now. No, I'm actually being bitter with a purpose. I realize this is what needs to be done, but I have to do it in this stupid way because if I were to just authentically present the issue like I want to, which is like, you know, guys, there are some difficult issues that we have right now. Nobody would watch, because who's gonna watch that? That shit's boring as hell. And that's, we've turned into a performance economy. I'm up here giving a performance in front of a camera, all about content. Oh, can you make the content interesting? Oh yeah. I'll rant about this at some other point. But the other annoying thing is that I'm a young guy, so people aren't going to naturally take my intellectual ideas seriously until I age. I get it. But it means I have to go through a bunch of hoops. And someone was commenting to me, you know, I would watch your channel, but you need to rant a bit more and you need to like get up and dance once in a while. Like work it. Ideas aren't actually recognized for the merit of what they offer. I could say the exact same thing 20 years from now as I'm saying now, and people will naturally just be like, oh, these are the words of someone who has more wisdom. That's just how it works. That's how it works. Let me tell you. And I think, oh, is this really the message I want to put out there? Do I need to succumb to this idea that I have to be watched? I need to get eyeballs on my videos and I need to get people to watch more because that's the only way? Or would I be selling out my message? It's like, yeah, I know you're selling out your message to some extent. But then again, don't you want your message seen? That was what Jordan Peterson was talking about in part one of this video. What's the point in doing art when nobody's viewing the art? Now that the video is devolved to such a degree, I have to refilm the intro. So let's do it right now. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I planned on filming a video that was reacting to Jordan Peterson and Oliver Anthony finishing this interview. We got a little off course at certain points. It turned into a rant in some areas. You might enjoy it, you might not, but I promise we are going to ultimately finish this interview in a part 3. I hope you enjoy it. But anyway, I have to get going. I have to go to the gym and take care of my body, not just so that I'm healthy and I'm taking care of myself. That's one aspect of it. But no. People take care of their bodies these days just so that it looks like they're taking care of their body, right? Like, we know how society works. We know how much of it is about appearances. That's why all of these women are in the gym with their phones and they're like, ooh, is this a good angle of me doing a squat while the camera is directly facing my ass? And oh no, that dude checked me out. And I'm like, oh, that's so terrible. A dude was looking at me while I was positioning the camera specifically so that people would be looking at my ass. What a tragedy that is. Yeah. Okay, folks. Enough ranting for the day. I think I should start doing these rants a little more often. I think people will find them entertaining. I think they'll find them informative too. And I hope it doesn't come across in a way that I'm like angry at my audience. What I want this to mainly be is just expressing an emotion. We're all irritated. We all look at what's going on. We're like, what the fuck is happening? And we want something to be done about it. Unfortunately, getting people together, recognizing that there are problems where we need to work together to solve them is challenging. Take care. Have a good weekend.